aquarianradio.com.
Aloha, this is Enki. You know me as Aquarius, and this is our age, the Sata Yuga. Time to celebrate with us. We have programs on all chakra tantra, love styles and relationship choices, counseling strategies and techniques that you can use at home. We have extraterrestrial radio where we deal with alienology, paranormal people, and we have an experiencers network. We have a section called Ancient Aliens, and the programs therein are Enki Speaks, Nimma, the Mother of Humanity, has her program, and we revise ancient anthropology. And most important of all, we have peace paradigms, because this is the age of peace. Harmony and understanding, sympathy and trust abounding. No more falsehoods or derisions. Golden living dreams of visions, mystic crystal revelations, and the mind's true liberation.
This is Enki.
It is I who 300,000 years ago created your race, and 200,000 years ago, it was a lot of fun, made it even better with some of the pretty girls. And it is I who saved you from the flood, and it is I and my beloved Nimma and my son Ningashiga Thoth who are here to help you overcome my runaway son Marduk or Allah, my brother Enlil or Yahweh, and free yourself from all the supposed gods and recognize your own great potential. You have much to teach us, and we, Anunnaki, those of us from Nibiru, welcome full partnership.
And here are your hosts, Janet and Dr. Sasha Lesson.
Aloha! Welcome to Aquarian Radio. Today's show is Enki Speaks. The title of today's show is E.T.'s Boosts Civilization After the Deluge, the Great Flood. Today is January 20th, 2013. We are broadcasting live from beautiful Maui, Hawaii. It's an incredibly gorgeous day, sunshine in paradise. My name is Janet Kira Lesson. I am your host. My co-host is Dr. Sasha Lesson, and he's going to take the mic and explain a little bit to you about today's show.
Well, I'd like to put today's show into the context of the story that we've been developing, and you can follow it, including the back issues on aquarianradio.com. The people, big, tall people from Nibiru, who some 450,000 years ago settled Earth, and about 300,000 to 200,000 years ago engineered the hybrid slave race, that's us, were about to leave the planet and just let, and their commander, Enlil or Yahweh, just said, let all these illegal hybrids, the mind slaves, that's us, drowned, but his chief scientist slipped them a computer program of how to make a submersible, and his particular son, the chief scientist, was named Enki, and his son was named Noah or Ziusudra in the old Sumerian language. So Sumeria was now to be ruled by the sons of Noah, Ham, Japhet, and Shem, but they were going to be helped with all the big science and engineering, of course, by the Nibiruans themselves. And they are setting out in the part that we're going to do today on how to rebuild. But they didn't just rebuild Sumer. They made it way better. They introduced almost all the things that we think are civilization. There it is, 13,000 years ago. There's this terrible flood, ruins everything, buries everything. The rivers aren't running where they should. It's just swamp and mud, and nothing at all is working. And these guys, amazing amount of energy, come in and they reclaim it. And they not only reclaim it, but they advance it, and they make cities and bronze and bricks, because there isn't any wood left. And we'll tell you the story in some detail. Let's start with Janet.
The flood of 13,000 years ago receded. Prince Enki, chief scientist for the gold mining expedition from the planet Nibiru to Earth, dug up the seeds under the Lebanon platform above the cedar forest. In his lab, he quadrupled the grain chromosomes and had Ziusudra's son run bakeries for the rebuilders, then had him supervise the laborers. Ninurta and Enki mapped the dam, sluice, and canal system for Sumer. Adad surveyed fruit trees that lived and found grapes Nimba brought from Nibiru. Earthlings again grew white and red wine grapes.
So the thing to notice so far is that the hostility through which the descendants of Enki and Enlil usually have for each other, when they were always bickering before, now they're really cooperating. Enlil's sons and Enki's sons are all working together.
Well, they're in survival mode now because everything got wiped out. They need each and every person, every being, every plant and animal to recover this planet.
Yeah, and of course Nimrod is very, very happy, and so is everybody that they found that Adad, one of Enlil's sons, found the grapes, both for white grapes and red wine grapes.
They loved their wine.
Okay, so then Ninagal, that's one of Enki's sons, reported the life essences and life eggs in the four-legged animals from Ziusutra's boat can be combined. Whereas Noah had taken life essences and life eggs. Sheep for wool and meat will multiply. Cattle for milk and hides will all have. So Ninagal says. Enki had Dumuzi replenish all the livestock, and he let Ziusutra's middle son, Japhet, run the shepherds for Dumuzi. And so this is the beginning of the Neolithic, the age of domestication. It's part of the recovery that the ETs are taking the hybrids on so that they can be supported in style. So from 11,000 to 10,500 BC, these so-called gods, these ETs from Nibiru, revived Sumer. They taught the proliferating earthlings, and boy did they proliferate. They taught them bronze and brick technologies. They had them build a new spaceport in the Sinai. They renewed Earth's crops and beasts. Suddenly, without any gradual perpetuation, the gods made earthlings into farmers. The agriculture they taught spread all over the world, from the Near Eastern arc of mountains and highlands. The gods gave earthlings wheat and barley, then millet, rye, spelt, and flax for fibers and edible oil. The gods gave the earthlings onions, lentils, beans, cucumbers, cabbage, lettuce, apples, apricots, cherries, pears, olives, figs, almonds, pistachios, the walnuts. I mean, they are really loading down the civilization to work and make them comfortable. They taught the earthlings to weave fiber into cloth.
I just want to say thank the gods. We have all those wonderful foods. That's awesome.
The Nibiruns taught the earthlings to weave fiber into cloth, to make flour, bread, porridge, cakes, pastries, biscuits, yogurt, butter, cream, cheeses, beer, and wine. So this is it. These guys are really giving us the basis of civilization. Settled communities grew, and the gods gave earthlings domesticated dogs, geese, ducks, sheep, goats, pigs, horned and hornless cattle for hides, meat, milk, and wool. And Ninurta, that's the son of Nimah and Lil, Ninurta introduced plows. Well, first the earthlings pulled the cows. They pulled the plows. They didn't pull the cows. Then the cows pulled the plows. So with the new grains that Enki had been developing, plus the plows that Ninurta gave them, food growing really was multiplying. The Nibiruns and their foremen directed the earthlings to regulate the Nile and create pasture land for Dumuzi's herds on the Horn of Africa. And this is a huge kind of thing of sluices and gates that controlled the Nile, because that area had been all ruined and flooded too during the Deluge. And at this time, the Nibiruns gave Sumerians the wheel. They gave him carts and chariots, and now Dumuzi's oxen and horses could pull the chariots and the carts.
So the wheel wasn't invented, it was given to us. Wow.
Well, somebody invented it.
Yeah, so it was invented by the Anunnaki, who may have gotten it from a higher civilization.
That's right.
We don't know where this all goes back to, but it's ancient. Enlil and his sons and grandchildren ruled Sumer, Inanna, Elan, southeast, Adad, the Taurus Mountains, Asia Minor, and the northwest, Ninurta, the highlands, Nanar, the north, Utu, Lebanon's airport. Each Sumerian god walled his sacred precincts, each with a sky-scraping ziggurat, which is a stepped pyramid. The ziggurats rose in several steps, usually 7 to 90 meters high. They were built of 2 kinds of mud bricks, sun-dried for high-rise cores and kiln-burned for extra strength for stairways, exteriors, and overhangings, held together with bitumen, I always say bitumen, you say bitumen,
yes,
as mortar. Enlil kept Nippur, Sumer's center, and there stored his computer programs, the tablets of destinies, and the command and control center for Earth to off-planet communication, the bond heaven-Earth, in his high-rise stepped pyramid. In the city, Enlil had Earthlings build schools of science and scribing, as well as a library with 30,000 inscribed clay tablets.
So this is civilization, big time. Cities and civilization, and they're just bestowing it. Enlil, Enki, Inanna, Adad, Ninurta, Utu, and Nanar, the big gods. Sumerians regarded them as gods. Taught the Sumerians every first of what we deem essential to advanced civilization. Wheeled transport, brick that made possible high-rise buildings, furnaces and kilns, essential to baking and metallurgy, cities and urban societies, kingship, temples, priesthoods, festivals, beer, culinary recipes, art, music, musical instruments, musical notes, dance, writing, record-keeping, everything. They gave us medicine, textiles, multicolored apparel, a mathematical system, sexagesimal, that initiated the circle of 360, timekeeping that divided day and night into 12 double hours, a lunar solar calendar of 12 months. They even had an they even figured out the 13th leap month. They gave us geometry. They gave us measurement units of distance. They gave us weights and capacity measurements. The Sumerian gods gave the people at this time advanced astronomy with planetary, star, constellation, and zodiacal knowledge. They bestowed upon them law codes, courts of law, irrigation systems, transportation networks, customs stations, and even taxes.
No, avoiding those taxes. Enlil ordered a new rocket terminal at Sinai on the Arabian Peninsula for freighting gold to Nibiru. Enlil told Enki and his lineage to build the new terminal, mission control, and guidance facilities in a mountain-like Great Pyramid at Giza, near the Nile at the 30th parallel. Although the Sinai Peninsula and the Giza pyramids were supposedly neutral under Nimma, Enki, and the Enkiites, they intended to control the peninsula. Whoever ran the Giza pyramid and the Sinai controlled space activities, the comings and goings of the gods, the vital supply link to and from Nibiru. Only Enki, the master engineer and scientist, had the know-how and experience for the massive works.
Yeah, next time we're going to get into just how the Pyramid of Giza worked as a transmitter of energy and so forth. But from 10,000 BC on, Enki's sons, Marduk and Ningishita, they assisted Enki, as did his descendants, Shu, Tefnut, Geb, and Nut. The secret plans of the Great Pyramid were in what was really going on inside this pyramid, we'll go into it, were held by Ningishita. Viracocha, that was the name they gave Adad, gathered all the survivors he found atop the Andes who had survived the deluge, and he had them build palaces for him and for his Nibiran overseers. And then Viracocha actually educated the couples he chose to establish an empire ruled from Cuzco. Now Nibiru's perigee, 13,000 years, the one that created the deluge, had also ripped away the shield of gold dust around Nibiru. This is gold the astronauts had struggled for millennia to ship to the mother planet. Nibiru's atmosphere was again dwindling. The mother planet again desperately needed Earth's gold. While survivors on Earth rebuilt their lives, word came from Nibiru. The shield of gold dust has torn. Nibiru ordered the expedition to send lots more gold at once. Well, for more gold, the expedition needed more Earthling miners and a new rocket terminal. But in Africa, the mud had interfered with the mines as well as the miners. In Sumer, mud had topped the refinery at Bab Tabira. Mud smothered the rocket terminal at Sipar as well. So, I should point out, Tellinger tells us a lot about this, that when the Anunnaki gods decided to help humans learn these skills of survival after the flood, not all the humans were convinced this is a good idea. Some didn't trust the brutal gods who'd oppressed them for so long. Therefore, they remained in their mountain hideouts, too scared to enter the newly established settlements of people. It looked to them like a new version of the labor camps that had persisted for millennia around the gold mines. But eventually, the gods, these big Nibirans, found the communities of rebellious earthlings and imposed their control on them, even in the remote locations. Many of remote tribes of the planet still were related. Even though there's lots of remote tribes, they still were fleeing from these gods. As the new community's need for labor increased, as this so-called civilization grew, the people from the civilization went into the mountains and neighboring villages and caught themselves some slaves. All ancient culture in the world were practicing slavery. From the very first day of civilization, man practiced what he was taught by his maker, the Nibirans: obsession with gold and the keeping of slaves.
Nagashita built a new spaceport in Sinai. Nagashita, with power tools better than ours to cut and move rock, built 2 pyramids in Egypt. First he built a model, then the Great Pyramid. Then he built the Great Pyramid over the records of the Nibirans inscribed on emerald tablets in a secret chamber, the halls of Amenti. He installed Nibiru's master computer programs and astronavigational equipment in the Great Pyramid and configured the pyramid itself as a communication device to send messages directly to Nibiru.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a preparation, and now we're going to take a little break, and then we will read directly from the Lost Book of Enki.
Hello, we're back from our little break. That was Giant Little Gods, an instrumental by You Are a Hologram. Thank you for joining us. Once again, this is Aquarian Radio. Our website is aquarianradio.com. This is today's show is Enki Speaks. Today's episode is E.T.'s Boost Civilization After the Deluge. It is January 20th, 2013. I am your host, Janet Kira Lesson, and my co-host is Dr. Sasha Lesson. So we're going to pick up reading from the 10th tablet of the Lost Book of Enki by Zecharia Sitchin, the late great Zecharia Sitchin. Now this is the account of how survival on Earth was restored, and how a new source of gold and other earthlings beyond the oceans were found. It was after the encounter at Arata that the waters of the deluge to recede continued, and the face of the earth gradually from under the waters was showing. The mountain lands were mostly unscathed, but the valleys under mud and silt were buried. From the celestial boats and from the whirlwinds the Anunnaki the landscapes surveyed. All that in the olden times in the Eden and the Absu had existed under the mud was buried. Eridu, Nibiruki, Shurubak, Sippur, all were gone, completely vanished. But in the Cedar Mountains, the great stone platform in the sunlight glistened. The landing place, in the olden times established, was still standing. One after another, the whirlwinds upon the platform landed. The platform was intact. At the launch corner, the huge stone blocks held firm. Clearing debris and tree branches away, the first to land to the chariots signaled. One after the other, the celestial chariots came. Upon the platform they touched down. Then to Marduk on Lamu, which is Mars, and Nanar on the moon, words were sent. And they too to earth returned. Upon the landing place they came down. Now the Anunnaki and the Ajiji, who were thus gathered by Enlil to assembly, were called. The deluge we have survived, but the earth is devastated, so did Enlil to them say.
Let us the sealed creation chamber examine. Perchance Nibiru's seeds we shall still find. So did Enlil to Enki say of the grains once created. At the side of the platform, clearing some mud, the shaft from times remote they found. The stone that blocked it they lifted off. The sanctuary they entered. The diorite chests with seals were fastened. The seals with a copper key they made open, and inside the chests, in crystal vessels, the seeds of Nibiru's grains were there. Once outside, to Ninurta Enlil the seeds gave. To him he was thus saying, Go to the mountainside, to the terrace, let the grains of Nibiru once again bread provide. In the Cedar Mountains on other occasions too, Ninurta waterfalls dammed, terraces constructed, the eldest son of Zeasutra, to raise crops, Ninurta taught. To Ishkur, Enlil's youngest, Enlil another task assigned. Where the waters have receded, go and the remaining fruit-bearing trees find. And to him, as fruit cultivator, Zeasutra's youngest son, Shem, was assigned.
The first fruit they found, the vine that by Nimma was brought, it was. Of its juice, as the Anunnaki's elixir renowned, Zeusudra took a sip. By one sip, then another and another, Zeusudra was overpowered. Like a drunkard, he fell asleep. Then, a gift to Anunnaki and Earthlings, Enki presented. The chest that Ningal had carried he unveiled, its surprising contents to all he announced. The life essences and life eggs in the wombs of the four-legged animals from Zeasudra's boat can be combined. Sheep for wool and meat will multiply, cattle for milk and hides will all have. Then with other living creatures the earth we shall replenish. To Dumuzi the shepherding tasks Enki gave. In the task was Zeasudra's middle son assisting. Then to the dark-hued landmass, where his and his sons' domains had been, Enki his attention turned.
With Ninigal at the confluence of mighty waters, the mountains he dammed. Fierce waterfalls to a lake he channeled to let the waters of a lake accumulate. Then the lands between Africa and the great sea which Marduk he surveyed. Where habitations once were the river's valley, how to drain he considered. At midstream, where the river's waters cascaded, an island from the waters he raised. Sounds like Maui. Raising in the bowels of this river, twin caverns he carved out. Above them, from stone sluices he fashioned. From there, 2 channels in the rocks he cut for the waters, 2 narrows he fashioned. Thus the flowing waters from the highlands, coming, he could slow down or let go faster. So this is how he's controlling the Nile. With dams and sluices, the 2 narrows, the waters he regulated. From the cavern island, the island of Abu, the river's serpentine valley, from under the waters he raised. In other words, he drained it. In the land of the 2 narrows, for Dumuzi and the shepherds, a habitation did Enki fashion. With satisfaction did Enlil all this to Nibiru words send. With words of concern, however, Nibiru responded.
The close passage that Earth and Lamu effected on Nibiru too much damage caused. The shield of gold dust was torn, the atmosphere was dwindling again. Now new supplies of gold quickly were needed. Fervently to the Absu Enki went, with Gibel his son to survey and search he journeyed. All the gold mines were gone, by the avalanche of water they were buried. Eden, Bad Tabira, too no longer existed, and Sippar, a place where the chariots, was no more. The hundreds of Anunnaki who in the mines of Bad Tabira toiled from the earth were gone. The multitude of earthlings, as primitive workers serving by the deluge, were to clay turned. No gold can from earth any more be provided. So did Enlil and Enki to Nibiru announce, wow, hundreds of Anunnaki died in the mines.
No, it doesn't. They did not die. It says that they were gone.
Oh, they were gone. Okay, so that's not necessarily dead, but it seems like...
No, they left.
They left. Okay, back to you.
Okay. So just to understand that, and especially in the south of Africa, this huge swamping just wiped out the population. But the Anunnaki, the Nibiruans, had been warned, and they left. They either, if they were married to or started families with Earthlings, then they could take shelter, or they could get shipped back to Nibiru. So they didn't die in this. This was just a die-off for the Earthlings, except for the descendants of Noah, Sutra, and the few humans up in the top of the Andes and some of the high mountains in North America survived. Okay, so on both Earth and Nibiru, there was desperation. I'm reading again from the 10th tablet. At that time, Ninurta, his tasks in the mountains of cedars completed, that's Lebanon, to the mountain land beyond the oceans he once again journeyed. And from that land, on the other side of the earth, that's South America, astonishing words he delivered. The avalanche of waters, deep cuts into the mountainside there tore, and from the mountainside uncounted gold in nuggets large and small to the rivers below fell down. Without mining can the gold be hauled. Enlil and Enki to the distant mountain land hurried. With their amazement, the discovery they viewed. So they went and took a look at South America. Gold, pure gold, refining and smelting not required. All it was just lying about. A miracle it is. So was Enki to Enlil, saying, what by Nibiru was wrought, by Nibiru was amended. The unseen hand of the Creator of all. It is life on Nibiru to enable, so did Enlil say. Now who could collect the nuggets? How to Nibiru they will be sent? The leaders asked each other.
Of the first question, Ninurta had the answer. In the high mountain land on this side of Earth, some Earthlings have survived. Descendants of Cain they are, with the handling of metals they are knowing. 4 brothers and 4 sisters are their leaders, on rafts they themselves saved. Now their mountain top in the midst of a great lake is an island. As protector of their forefathers they me recall, the great protector they call me. By the report the other Earthlings had survived, the leaders were heartened. Even Enlil, who at the end of all flesh planned, was no longer angered. It is the will of the Creator of all, to each other they said.
So Cain's descendants are there on Lake Titicaca, in an island in the middle. Now let us a new place for celestial chariots, rocket ships, established there from the gold to send to Nibiru itself. For a new plain whose soil has dried and hardened they searched. In the proximity of the landing place, in a desolate peninsula, such a plain they found. And of course this is Sinai. Flat as a quiet lake it was. By white mountains it was surrounded. Now this is the account of the new place of the celestial chariots, and the artifice twin mounts, and how the image of the lion by Marduk was usurped. The image of the lion, of course, will be the Sphinx. In the peninsula by the Anunnaki chosen, Sinai, the heavenly ways of Anu and Enlil on earth were reflected. Those are the 2 takeoff and landing zones. Let the new place of the chariots precisely on the boundary be located. That's the 30th parallel. Let the heart of the plain the heavens reflect. So did Enlil to Enki suggest. Once Enki to this agreed, Enlil from the skies of distances took measures, and on a tablet of grand design for all to see he marked out. Let the landing place in the Cedar Mountains be part of the facilities, he said. The distance between the landing place and the chariot place he measured. In the midst thereof, a place for a new mission control center he designated. We'll see that that's Jerusalem. There, a suitable mount he selected. The Mount of Way Showing he named it. A platform of stones, akin but smaller than the landing place, to be built there, he ordered. And in its midst, a great rock was carved inside and out to house a new bond heaven-earth, a new navel of the earth, the role of Nibiru key before the deluge to replace. In other words, this is where he's going to have the big pyramid, what later gets known as the Pyramid of Giza, and it's going to be their main energy sender and receiver. The landing path in the middle of the 2 peaks, Errata in the north he anchored, and to demark the landing corridor and the 2 other sets of twin peaks required. To delimit the landing place's boundary, ascent and descent to secure to the southern part of the desolate peninsula a place of mountains. Twin adjoining peaks Enlil selected, and on them the southern delimit he anchored. Where the second set of twin peaks was required, mountains there were no more. Only a flat land above the water-clogged valley from the ground protruded.
Artificial peaks thereon we can raise, so did Nigashita to the leaders say. On a tablet the image of smooth-sided skyward rising peaks for them he drew. If it can be done, let it be so. Let it so be, and they approved. Let him also as beacon serve. On the flatland above the river's valley, Nigashita a scale model built. The rising angles and 4 smooth sides with it he perfected. Next to it a larger peak he placed, its sides to earth's 4 corners he set. By the Anunnaki with their tools of power were its stones cut and erected. Beside it in a precise location, the peak that was its twin he placed. With galleries and chambers for pulsating crystals he designed it. With this artful peak to the heavens rose, to place it upon the capstone the leaders were invited. Of electrum, an admixture by Gibbel fashioned, was the apex stone made. The sunlight to the horizon it reflected, by night like a pillar of fire it was. The power of all the crystals to the heavens in a beam it focused.
Okay, so this is a really, really important thing. 20th century archaeologists had thought that maybe the Great Pyramid was supposed to be where someone was buried, but they never found anything buried in there because it was not a burial chamber. It far exceeded the ability of Khufu or any of the later pharaohs to build. This was this huge thing. That was their power generator. And Ningishita, or Thoth, as he came to be later known when he ruled Egypt, built it, and we know exactly what it was, and we have, if you look at the History Channel YouTube that I have, we know how it worked and everything. So this is how they beamed energy out, and we'll see next time that Enki and Enlil are so happy about this thing, and that Enki actually gets Enlil to put a statue with the face of Thoth, Ningishita, one of Enki's younger sons, on it, because he's the guy that designed it. And this, as we'll see next time, really upsets Enki's heir, his older son Marduk, who, when he winds up taking over Egypt down a few centuries, and we'll get to that, he chips the face off and has his son Asar's face put instead of Thoth's place. But that's all for next time. We have lots more to share.
So isn't that Marduk's face on the...
No, it's his son.
It's his son Asar. Okay, yeah. So
Osiris, yeah.
Osiris.
Yeah, it's just this is his.
Oh, Asar's Osiris. So yeah, the yeah, what do you call it? The pyramids were created to demarcate the landing corridor. So that corridor, the landing corridor. Sorry.
Yeah, and so all these mountains that we went through this description of, Zecharia Sitchin exactly located where they are and how they triangulate and how it made a landing corridor that you could see from thousands of miles away.
I wonder why people ignore this, because this is the reason for the pyramid and the Sphinx, but they just kind of overlook it and don't even look at this information. It's amazing.
Well, people that follow the traditional beliefs that Marduk as Allah or Yahweh, Enlil as Yahweh, perpetrated, don't want to recognize that there were plural gods, and they weren't gods at all. They were just techno guys. Some of them were pretty murderous.
Right, because as we saw in the previous episodes, they encountered a being that had greater awareness and knowledge, which was called Galzu, and even Galzu and the Anunnaki all referred to the creator of all. So there's a higher power and a even higher power and the highest power.
And also when Enki was creating us, engineering Nibiran genes and Homo erectus genes together, Ninurta and Enlil both argued that it was against what they called the rules of planetary colonization, and they allude very distinctly there to some kind of larger organization whose rules they were subject to, and
right,
we'll see
like
later
on,
on.
Federation of some kind, or some kind of interplanetary council.
Yeah, that's what basically has been quarantining Earth until Earth gives up its nukes in space and stops its violence and disrespect for consciousness here.
All right, well, I think that's about enough for today. I want to invite our listeners to visit our websites, AnkiSpeaks.com, AquarianRadio.com. We have a sister site, ExtraterrestrialContact.com. And for those who have had extraterrestrial and interdimensional experiences, we have ExperiencersNetwork.com. And I wanted to just comment that we were very fortunate, Dr. Les and I were very fortunate to study with Zecharia Sitchin. We were in his first certification program in 1997. What city was that, honey?
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, the Prophets Conference. They sponsored him, and we got to sit with him and have lunch and dinner and have these wonderful chats. And then we went to all of his groups for as long as we could, and he could. He got sicker and sicker over the years. It was limited to the East Coast, but we even flew over there to Florida in 2005, I think it was. So we were very fortunate to study with Zecharia Sitchin, and he wrote a letter to Dr. Lesson asking him to continue the work and to create an educational program. So that's part of why we're bringing this to you. We're documenting this and discussing it, bringing you all the information as we discover it. We're collaborating the information with other researchers. Now there's a whole field of people interested in these Anunnaki studies, and as you noticed, anybody out there who has the internet and can Google it, UFOs are big. Over half of the world's population believes in it. There's so many people that are having encounters. So we're bringing the ancient through to the modern here on Aquarian Radio, and we do hope you join us in future episodes. And do tell your friends, Facebook it, blog it, talk about it. Go put comments on our websites, join our sites. We'd love to see you here in hyperspace. So aloha and blessings and love from Maui, Hawaii.
Aloha and shalom.
Thanks for joining us today on Aquarian Radio. We broadcast daily, and our schedule's on aquarianradio.com. Listen live by calling 646-649-0893, or you can listen live by calling 646-649-0893, or listen to our archives on aquarianradio.com. Join us again soon, and do tell your friends the age of Aquarius and the paradigm of peace is now.
Aloha, this is Enki. You know me as Aquarius, and this is our age, the Sata Yuga. Time to celebrate with us. We have programs on all chakra tantra, love styles and relationship choices, counseling strategies and techniques that you can use at home. We have extraterrestrial radio where we deal with alienology, paranormal people, and we have an experiencers network. We have a section called Ancient Aliens, and the programs therein are Enki Speaks, Nimma, the Mother of Humanity, has her program, and we revise ancient anthropology. And most important of all, we have peace paradigms, because this is the age of peace, harmony and understanding, sympathy and love abound. No more falsehoods or derisions, mystic crystal dreams and visions.
And this has been another episode here at AquarianRadio.com.
AquarianRadio.com.